Hello, this is Unsung with GameLeap, and in today's video, we're going to be teaching you how to start off Season 2024 correctly. As I'm sure that you know, the new rank season is going to begin on January 9th. We are receiving a fully new split and no actual preseason. We're jumping straight into the new Summoner's Rift with all the updates to the jungle monsters, brand new terrain, and 3 new Baron Nashers. Also accompanying these changes to the map, there is a full item rework. We have covered these extensively. Make sure that you check out the videos present on the GameLeap YouTube channel so that way you're able to stay up to date. That being said, there are a couple strategies that we're going to be discussing today that will guaranteed help your win rate while you do your placement matches and set you up for a great beginning of the season. Just a quick reminder, if you want more tips like these, head on over to GameLeap.com. We have plenty of courses to get you off the ground as soon as possible, so that way you're able to easily climb in the new season. I'll see you on the site. Let's go ahead and get right into it, starting off with tip number 1, dodging. The most important thing to remember in the beginning of the season is that dodging will not impact you in a negative way. The only negative to dodging in the early season is going to be the timer. There is no LP penalty, your rank is not going to go down, you're going to be able to have basically free dodges until we complete our placements. This is really huge because we can skew our placements in a way where we only have favorable team comps. Let's say that we really like playing an on-hit AD carry like Twitch. We can hover Twitch in all of our champ selects, and then if our team drafts all assassins and we have a Pyke support and we don't want to play that, then we dodge the game, go again until we get our Lulu player. The same can be said for a top laner. Let's say that you really like playing Irelia and you hate the Set matchup, for example. The first game that you queue, it's Irelia versus Set. What do? We simply dodge the game, we wait, and then we can queue again until we get a favorable matchup where we are confident that we're going to be able to win this game and put our best foot forward. Win streaking in the early season is more important than win streaking later on because it will allow us to hit our previous rank, and then we'll be able to work towards new heights instead of just chipping away at the same old block. Now, that being said, if you go 0 and 8 in your placements, it's not going to be the end of the world. You'll still be able to maintain your old rank. It just helps you astronomically in your climb early on to go on a win streak, so that way you can carry that MMR and continuously match into good competitive players over and over and over again instead of fighting for your life in the early season terrible matchmaking. The easiest and most effective way to avoid this pit of despair is simply going to be abusing our dodges. Make sure that we get a favorable matchup, ensure that we have favorable team comps, so that way we're able to skew the game and have agency on our own instead of relying on our teammates constantly. Alrighty, now that we covered our first tip, let's go ahead and talk about tip number 2, and that's going to be spamming as many games as possible in the first few days of the season. If you're somebody that works a 9 to 5 every single day, stay tuned until the end. We'll talk about what we can do for you, so that way you're not left behind as well. This second tip here truly is the second most important thing. In a perfect world, we want to be playing 8 league games a day in the very beginning of the season for a few reasons. Let's say that we're a player that's been stuck in gold for the last 3 splits. 19% of the League of Legends population is in gold, with 64.5% of the overall player base being gold and below. That is a ton of people, and we're only more likely to match with the 64% of players if we wait to queue and we allow them to fill these divisions back up again. If we play more games, it's easier for us to pull away because not only are we going to be following a wave of higher elo players, but the amount of gold players that are simply able to invest that amount of time are few and far between. This is the easiest way to climb at the beginning of any season, I promise you. With the adjustments to Riot's ranking system, what matters more instead of your individual skill is going to be the amount of games that you can play. I cannot tell you how many players that I have seen negative win rate in Masters that have no idea what they're doing because they simply have 2,000 games. Of course, the average person isn't going to be able to have the time to invest 2,000 games into League of Legends, but what we can do is spam games in early season, have ourselves placed way higher than we were before, and then use that MMR to ride out the rest of the season from there. If we're somebody that, let's say, only plays 100 ranked games in a year, if we have 50 of these in the first month of the season, we're going to have better results than if we wait a whole bunch of time and play occasionally with large gaps between. For those of you that are going to be busy when the season drops or you have a full-time job, let's go ahead and get into it. Now, don't be taking days off of work so that way you can play early season. That's stupid. What we have to do is use our time effectively. Let's say that you're working on the day that the season comes out. You come home, I want you to play 5 to 6 games if you can, and then maybe 1 or 2 before you leave to work in the morning the next day. This is going to be stressful, but I promise you it will save you a bunch of heartache later on in the year when you're playing that first month of the season grief queue, because it really does boil down to that. Early season has the highest amount of trolls per game than any other time frame in League of Legends. I could say that with 100% authority because I've been playing this game almost every single day for the last 12 years. If you are not somebody that can invest a sheer amount of time early on, then I do have a recommendation for you. This is a strategy that I personally have been using for the last few years because I CBA to play that many games. Okay, day 1, season comes out, what do? Absolutely nothing. We will not touch ranked for the first week and a half that it's out. This will allow people to fall back into their previous divisions, so we're able to have more fair and balanced games. Then from there, we can focus on spamming our games when we have the time to. We can invest like 8 games here, maybe we can only get 6 to stay. We have 3 days a week that we can play like 8+ games. That is completely fine. We just want to make sure that we're getting the majority of our games that we play in the early season done as soon as possible, excluding that first week, week and a half, 2 weeks, whatever it takes before things settle down. If you work 5 days a week and you can only play weekends, spam games as often as you can. maybe try to sneak one before and after work. You get the idea. Time investment now will save you a bunch of grief later on. It is 100% worth it if you want to play League competitively or you want to push yourself to new levels. Alrighty, on to tip number 3, and that is going to be meta abuse. At the very start of every single League patch, there will be an outlier champion and there will be some outlier items, especially one as big as what we're receiving. Before continuing, let's go on and identify the new items that we're getting. We're receiving new on-hit items, which are completely broken. We've released a video on them. There is a full tank item and magic resist rework, allowing us to counter the brand new mage items that are also coming out. These mage items are stupid against squishy champions. The on-hit items beat tanks, and then tanks beat everything else. From my own personal knowledge and what I've seen and I've played on the PvE, I would bet that on-hit items and tank items are going to be the two strongest items that are available in the game. In my opinion, there will be nerfs shipped to Terminus and Jack Show almost immediately when this patch does drop, so ideally we play some sort of champion that can abuse either Terminus or the brand new tank items. There will be mages that are strong, of course, with the mage update. Hui is a great example of this. He's kind of balanced around the new items and he doesn't function that great with the items that are available to us in Season 13. In Season 14, Storm Surge is going to break this champion 100%, but he will still be hard countered by tanks, especially with the great magic resist itemization options that they will have. The entire point of this segment is to get you ready to identify what is broken day 1 of the patch. Let's say that we play solo queue and we keep seeing tanks over and over and over again. This will mean that tanks are pretty good. We should probably be playing tanks. On day 2 of the patch, we stop seeing tanks and then we start seeing on-hit carries rise up. Master Yi, Varus, stuff like that. Then we want to shift our picks to things that either counter them super hard so they're not able to get off the ground, or we join them and try to take those picks away from our opponents. What matters most is that we adapt to these early metas that form, especially in solo queue. Unfortunately, even as a professional coach, I cannot predict 100% accurately. Things like this are mostly up to the community and professional play, as that is what solo queue gets molded around. Let's look at an example of this. Ivern is consistently one of, if not the highest win rate jungler in the game. Is he picked that often in solo queue? No. Would I recommend that people play him? 100%. Is he picked in pro play? No. So what makes this champion so undesirable? Number 1, he does not have a popular design, and number 2, he's unintuitive to play with. Now let's look at another champion, Jarvan 4. J4 is top 10 in jungle win rates for years, but he sits at a dead even 50% win rate. Which jungler is superior to climb with? If we invest the time over hundreds of games, then 100% Ivern. But if we don't want to invest the time and we instead want to have a conduit for the new items, then Jarvan is going to be our best bet. Not only is his kit simple, but he's adaptable and anybody can pick him up immediately. So in these cases, we would want to pick a champion like Jarvan over something like Ivern, even though Ivern is stronger. All that matters if we want the easiest LP for us to get is that we conform to the meta and then adapt our playstyle around the newly overpowered things that are discovered by the community. Make sure that you check back with us a few days after the patch drops. We will have a tier list ready for you, so that way you don't have to put the time and effort into finding out yourself. Now that we are done with tip number 3, let's go ahead and move on to tip number 4. If you're tilted or worried about your win rate, I don't want you to be. 2 seasons ago, I had an account that was 550 LP with a 65% win rate, absolutely smashing all my matches to say the least. The next season, that same account was 40% win rate over 20 games due to me playing poorly and getting trolled a few times early on. That same account was then back to 500 LP after a few months of the season rolling on, with me playing on it minimally. A good start to the season will without a doubt boost you and set you up for success, but it is not everything. If you get unlucky, that is okay. Don't freak out, don't abandon your account, and definitely don't let yourself get beat up over it. Sometimes, even if we apply all the strategies mentioned in this video, your placement matches still might end up like flipping a coin. You could win 5 in a row, lose 10. It's just the way that League is sometimes. Riot's matchmaking is notoriously unreliable. If you've been playing around Platinum and Emerald, I'm sure that you've seen plenty of this in the last split. It just doesn't work properly in low sample size. The only thing that removes high variance in low sample size is increasing the amount of data or games that you play. Like we talked about earlier, as we invest more time, the win rate will even out to normal levels, even if we're underperforming or we're overperforming, because that's what Riot matchmaking wants. Let's say that we have a really bad start to the season and we're sitting at 45% win rate. Are we more likely to get other 45% win rate players on our team, or are we more likely to get people with a 55% win rate to try and balance it out? The answer is that we're more likely to get those people with 55% win rate. So as long as we start pulling our own weight at some point, this win rate will even out no matter what. You do not have to stress over losing all of your games in the early season. It is really not that big of a deal. I really hope that you guys understand this. You really are more valuable than what your rank displays, despite what people in solo queue might tell you. So don't let a bad string of games get you down. There's no reason to be depressed or to give up because of them. Just play more games. I promise you it will get better eventually. If it doesn't get better, then you can flame me in the YouTube comments below. And finally, last but not least, our 5th and final tip is going to be one-tricking. For the start of the season, what matters the most is the amount of comfort that you feel. And this of course is going to vary from person to person. You might be somebody who can lock in a counter pick after not having touched it for months and still be able to perform. But if you're not, the alternative is to one-trick a champion. Let's say that you find something that clicks with you early season, then I would highly recommend investing the time into that so that way you don't have to move out of that comfort zone. From this stable place, we can learn the new map and the new items without having to worry too much about things changing from game to game. If you've been playing League for like 5 years and you know what every champion does, then of course I don't recommend that you one-trick stuff unless you find a super effective strategy that's going to boost you. Instead, I would rely on having those counter picks and making your knowledge do the talking. But maybe if you're somebody that's newer to the game or you struggle adapting to new things, then I highly recommend one-tricking a champion. Everybody has a main of sorts. Play that champion as often as you can, see if you like that playstyle, and then if not, move on until you find something that clicks with you. All that matters from here is that we have that comfort and we have that stable learning platform to go onwards with. If we're somebody that doesn't mind playing a lot of champions, then that's fine with you. But otherwise, then we really need to focus on one-tricking that one champ or that one role that we can have the most amount of success on. Anyways, this is Unsung with Game Leap. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. I'll see you guys in the next video.